Hey, you're listening to the VHS Ate My Brain podcast. I am Andrew Horn. I'm the author of a book called VHS Ate My Brain, which spawned a bunch of other stuff, like a magazine column in Scream magazine. It spawned a previous version of this podcast. It spawned a YouTube show, a bunch of other stuff. Then eventually, 2023, I brought back VHS Ate My Brain in a revised edition, and now in 2024, I have just recently released VHS Ate My Brain 2, The Revenge. I think that's us up to speed. So I like tapes. I like old movies. I like old VHS tapes. I think that much is obvious. Let us begin the show. So thank you to everyone that has been checking out VHS Ate My Brain 2, The Revenge. It's really, really appreciated. I'm humbled and astonished that it's getting a good response around the world, and it's still charting on Amazon as well. So thank you ever so much for that, everyone. If you haven't checked it out yet, please do. I do hope you enjoy it if you do check it out. And of course, the previous one, VHS Ate My Brain Revised Edition, is still out as well. So feel free to check that out. That one's a bit more, has a bit more background in it. The new one is more about sequels and the last 10 years of what's going on in the scene, but they work well together. Funny experience this week with that, this past week, is my mum has actually read these books. Hi, Mum. So not only has she read VHS Ate My Brain Revised Edition, she has now also finished the second one, The Revenge. And it's a bit weird because I do mention my mum a few times in those books because it was her that started letting me rent stuff. And it was like, oh, and she said, "Oh, I'm reading your book, Andrew." I think, "Oh no, what have I said about my mum? I hope I've not been too sarcastic or anything." But no, it turns out she really enjoyed it, so that was nice. Lots of memories of going to those video stores. Went with her. Eventually, well, pretty quickly, to be honest, I ended up going to the video shop on my own because I think I spent so much time in there, I don't think she could take it anymore. So thank you for putting up with that, Mum. I do really appreciate that. So just a reminder, I will be at Tapestock 2 at the 80s Video Shop on October the 5th. That's Tapestock 2, the event. It's a meeting of the Video Club from Facebook, a Facebook page. It's taking place at the 80s Video Shop in Alfreton, my favourite place in the world. And that is on Saturday, the 5th of October, from 12 noon to roughly 11 p.m. I'm not sure how long I will stay if I have the staying power for that. But, that is the 80s Video Shop, 11 King Street, Alfreton, and you will find a marvellous, marvellous time there. So it says on the page for the event, there'll be back-to-back films and trailers screened in the 80s Video Shop cinema space, tapes and collectible sales and swaps. Members can bring their stuff and set up a stall, a chance to meet other group members in person, competitions and quiz, and so on. So you will also find me there with a table selling both VHS Ate My Brain Revised Edition and The Revenge in brand spanking new paperbacks. Can't wait to meet some of you there. That would be wonderful if you could come along and join us for hours and hours of tape-based fun. It says bring your own beer here, but there is a Wetherspoons next to it and other potentially more preferable pubs elsewhere in Alfreton as well. So this weekend, I actually went to play a gig in Derby. So I play guitar. I play in a band called Jan Doyle Band, and I mention this because the singer of that band, Derek, hello Derek, is going to be joining me at Tapestock, as far as I'm aware, with a table there because he is another VHS aficionado. He knows his stuff. I don't think there's anyone out there that knows his stuff more than Derek, to be honest. He's a serious cinephile, really, really into his stuff, and he knows his stuff as well. He knows what things are worth. He knows what's good and bad, and he knows a good deal when he sees it. So do come along. You will meet Derek as well, hopefully. That would be amazing. So I'm really looking forward to that event there, not because I've got to shift some books, because that would be nice, but because I get to spend some time with friends there and extended family friends as well, because I guess I'm going to meet some cool people there. Because VHS collectors, we're a pretty cool bunch, it has to be said. So before I go any further, I do need to mention something about my YouTube channel. So it's Andrew Haunt, at Andrew Haunt on YouTube, and the channel's name is Planet Hex. That's what my show is called. I have other shows on there, but the one that's stuck has been Planet Hex. And this week, it hit 500 subscribers. I am so grateful for that. Yeah, I don't have millions of subscribers, but I don't expect to because I am a niche content creator. I make niche stuff for very niche people. That's why I love you guys. I really, really appreciate each and every one of you that watches my videos or listens to my stuff. When I got the notification through that I'd hit 500 subscribers, I was like, that's brilliant. Between you and me, I had wondered if I didn't hit 500 subscribers by the end of this year, I was thinking about wrapping the channel up. So to do it in September instead of by the end of the year, that is a wonderful feeling. So thank you very, very much for that, everyone that's been watching. And hello to new subscribers here as well as on my YouTube channel. So if you're listening to this, I'm guessing that you do watch Planet Hex. If you don't watch Planet Hex, please do go and like and subscribe to Planet Hex over on YouTube. It's good. It's a good show. It's much like this, but you get to see my massive potato head, as well as listening to my bizarre, reedy voice. So thank you ever so much for everyone, to everyone that's made that so special, and thank you to everyone that's watched the videos, shared them, interacted with me on those. It is so cool of you to do that, to take your time, spend your time coming and seeing stuff I've made and listening to me talk about old films and tapes and comics and games and stuff like that. I hugely, hugely, hugely appreciate it. So thank you to each and every one of you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. This week's episode of the VHS Ate My Brain podcast is going to be on the subject of the future of my VHS collection. So, as many of you will know from reading the books, mainly from reading the revised edition and the new one, The Revenge, that I got rid of most of my VHS collection after I put out the first version of the book in 2014. I felt like I'd said everything. I felt like I'd done everything that I could with the scene. I'd contributed to the scene, and I'd enjoyed this enormous collection. And I sold it off because I needed the money. So bit by bit, the collection dwindled to almost nothing, and I have regretted it ever since, to be honest. It was a really cool collection, lots of rarities, lots of sentimental value to it as well. It wasn't just it wasn't just financial value in that. There were a lot of things that I was really connected to. Two main tapes, of course, which have said before, Video Dead and Neon Maniacs. So I sold them off. I was left with a few tapes. I was left with a few favourites that I couldn't get rid of, like Trick or Treat, which I just could never get rid of, or Vamp, and a few others. But my main ones all went, and I had a lot of X rentals, and that was my always been my thing. I had quite a few mass market tapes as well, but it was always the X rentals that caught my attention because that's the ones I rented from the store. So they went, and since doing the revised edition, I have amassed quite a few more VHS tapes. I've got a few back that I had lost. I've got other copies of them. I've expanded it with different films that I didn't have before, and got a lot of stuff that people have recorded off TV and some personal tapes, that sort of thing. But it's not what I'm after. So my plan is this. I've decided I'm going to sell off my mass market tapes, because at the core of my love for VHS is X rental big box tapes. So I'm going to sort of recreate the core of my old collection, but all in big box X rentals, because that is the thing that I love the most, the thing that I appreciate the most out of these things. And I think that's going to be an interesting challenge. It will vary greatly what the mass market tapes I have will gather, will bring in. But I figure anything I make out of the mass market tapes will go into a budget for getting my X rentals back. Of course, the big ones, the big ones, I already mentioned them, but there will be quite a few. So I'm going to go through my old collection photos. I'm going to go through my old lists and make sure I just find the most important favorite tapes, because I miss them. They're like old friends. I know that sounds weird to people, to some people, but I'm sure as movie fans and VHS collectors yourselves, I guess by listening to this podcast or watching me on YouTube, that you would understand this. It's the same with like albums, I guess favorite T-shirts, but definitely favorite films. Music is a big one, or books, even books or comic books, like picking up stuff from your childhood that really meant a lot to you in like graphic novel form, even if you can't get the initial ones, just having those stories back is an amazing feeling. And I totally get that. I get the collector's gene. I get it with vinyl addicts that want to pick up all the stuff that they grew up with and didn't have at the time, or that they had and lost along the way. I totally understand that, and I understand why it appeals. So the X rentals, of course, they always take me back to the days of going to the video store. Shout out Metro Video in Mailing Bridge. The people that ran that have no idea that I loved it so much. They have no idea that I've written so much about it. And I honestly wouldn't know how to try and find them. I don't remember their names. I feel terrible about that. Maybe I could look up on a Facebook group or something and see if anyone remembers who ran it. Maybe I could have a word with them. That would be awesome. Maybe that's a project for the future. That would be really, really cool. But yeah, this is the thing with what I want to do with this. I was looking at the collection, and my shelves are stacked. My shelves are stacked. The unit which I have for my Planet Hex set is stacked with tapes, and they're not all precious. Some of them have been donated, some of them have been picked up through sales from eBay or Facebook Marketplace, or passed to me by friends and family, and that's really, really cool. But they're not the ones that I would like to keep as the core of my collection. So, as I say, I'm going to revisit my lists of absolute favourites, the absolute core of my collection, and then recreate that all in big box X rental ones. I know it's going to cost a fair bit, but I'm ready. I'm ready to do that. And I think that is something that is entirely achievable, because I'm not going to go for thousands of tapes this time. I'm going to go really, really specifically for the ones that were special to me. If you can hear a noise in the background there, that's the cat on his scratching post. Thanks, Pumpkin. They always manage to get in my videos and my podcasts and stuff, these guys. It's great having cats, honestly. So yeah, I'm going to go and get just the core and recreate the core, and maybe slightly expand on that core, just with some favourites that I've never had as a X rental, like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors, never had that as an X rental. I always had that as a mass market tape. I might look through some other favourites and see if I could get those as X rentals, but I know it's going to be a costly endeavour. I know it's going to be difficult to track some of them down in a decent condition. But I think that's going to bring back the thrill of the hunt. I do miss the hunt. I miss going out collecting things. I miss going and searching for them. So I think by looking for specific ones just to fill out a very small but pleasing collection is the way forward for me. I think that's what I'm going to have to do going forward. And yeah, so the search is on. I'm going to go and put some of these tapes up this week or next and start the process of amassing a budget for my X rentals. And I think so that it doesn't impinge on life, as a parent and a homeowner, things like that. I think it's going to be funded entirely by things I can sell on eBay or flip. I have a lot of eBay stock still. I'm going to get rid of a bunch of that. So anything I can make, I think will go back into that. So it balances out and doesn't impinge on the regular income. These are things you have to think about as a collector. If you're going to make a go of it, you're going to have to make a go of it in a sensible way that's not going to actually damage your finances and leave you without, food or a mortgage payment or something like that. So, I've got to look after those things too. So I'm trying to just recreate something very special, not just throwing anything in there. It's got to be something special. It needs that wow factor. And that's what it's always been about for me, keeping that wow factor, keeping that entertainment in there and that fun. Right, with all that said, let's go and take a look at this week's rentals. So for this week's rentals, I've picked two movies that are particular favourites of mine. I've picked one action sci-fi stroke horror movie and one straightforward martial arts movie. And these are really beloved tapes from my rental days. After all the talk about getting just X rentals, I do only have one of these is just on small box, but I must see if I can find it on a big box. So the action movie, the straightforward action movie, it's going to be Lady Dragon, starring Cynthia Rothrock. So it was a Rapeye Films movie directed by David Worth. So Cynthia Rothrock and Richard Norton with Robert Ginty, no less. So this was that's like the triumvirate of cheap action movies, isn't it? Cynthia Rothrock, Richard Norton, Robert Ginty. If you're not familiar with Robert Ginty, look up films like The Exterminator, or my personal favourite, which is not seen as one of his best, Warrior of the Lost World, which is a weird Mad Max knockoff. Really do check that out. So Lady Dragon, it's like a more hardcore Karate Kid. Cynthia Rothrock plays a She plays a fighter who's earning money from kind of these big street fights, gets injured, and then has to relearn martial arts when her injuries heal, with the help of a Mr. Miyagi type character and a young boy character. Yeah, there has to be a cute young kid in there to keep it. I was going to say keep it PG, but it's an 18. The violence in this is quite strong. The martial arts scenes in it are quite strong, and but the reason I really like this, the reason I really like Lady Dragon among Cynthia Rothrock's movies, is that it holds together really well as a film. It's got one of the best scripts of all the films that she was in, and that's not saying much for some of them, honestly, especially the ones that were redubbed. But it has a lot of fun to be had. I really enjoy that movie, and I'm gonna go watch it again. Actually, I think I'll watch it again tonight. But this is the one that's got a weird cover on it. So the cover shows a lady pulling in a martial arts stance. She's got Cynthia Rothrock's head, but it's not Cynthia Rothrock's body. They've got a model to pose as Cynthia Rothrock's body. It's got a torn bit of the suit and stuff, and it just looks so bad and so cut and paste. It's unreal. So that tacky cover aside, it's a great movie. I do wholeheartedly recommend that one. So that's Lady Dragon. So the other one I've picked, the horror sci-fi action mashup, is Class of 1999. The first one, and by Christ, not the second one, the substitute, which was Toss. So the slogan here: first Terminator, then RoboCop. They won't prepare you for Class of 1999. So starring Malcolm McDowell, of course. These things had to have Malcolm McDowell in and Stacey Keach. This also had Pam Grier in it, no less. So it's 1999. School is a war zone. The latest automatic weapons are the teachers. 1999. I don't remember it being like that, but still. In 1998, 6 million violent incidents took place in American high schools, including 29,000 teacher brutalities. The public school system has been reduced to a battlefield. The Board of Education has just found the perfect solution to the class of 1999. From the director of Commando, the class of 1999, to graduate is to survive. So basically, the government send a group of cyborg teachers into a particularly violent school to correct it, make it better, make it a lovely, fine, upstanding place to be and be educated, and save it from some very well dressed, very clean, surprisingly, well nourished, ne'er do well kids. These post apocalyptic things, everyone kind of looks too healthy, I think. They all kind of look too healthy. But in Class of 1999, they are met with the opposition of these cyborg teachers who proceed to dish out corporal punishment. They're really strict. They start out strict, but kind of fair, but then they get harder edged and harder edged till they are basically on a killing spree with their skin hanging off, a la the Terminator. Um, so it's a bit of a different approach to education, but I do wholeheartedly recommend this movie. It's a great one to revisit. It holds up really well. There's some fantastic practical effects for the makeups when the cyborg teachers are getting bits blown off them or the skin and that. There's some animatronics. In fact, the jankiness of the animatronics makes it look even more real, makes it look more robot like. So I do recommend that. It's one of those movies that I like, that has a larger palette than its budget will really tend to. So yes, Class of 1999 and Lady Dragon, those are my two top picks for this week's rentals. You can go and find them online at various streaming places, probably. If not, you can find them pretty cheap on DVD. I'm not sure about Blu-ray. Don't know if either of these have come out on Blu-ray. I think Class of 1999 might have. But yes, that's something to look out for. One Blu-ray I am really looking forward to getting hold of is the Trick or Treat Blu-ray. I mean, we know I love Trick or Treat. I even have a sequel idea for Trick or Treat, and I know there is a deluxe version of the Blu-ray coming out for that. I've got to recheck the date on that, so I don't actually remember the date of when that's going to come out, but that is going to be an epic, absolutely essential purchase. And I'm going to have to get snacks. I'm going to have to go the whole 9 yards. I'll get the Iron Brew out, and I'm going to have a proper movie night for that when that does come out, and revisit the hell out of that disc. I understand there's going to be quite a few extras on it, so yeah, I hope I will be able to get my hands on a copy of that. That would be amazing. So, what have you been watching? Please do let me know. You can leave comments on my YouTube channel. Over my show is called Planet Hex, but if you look for @AndrewHaunt on YouTube, you'll find me. And you can also send me messages on Instagram and my Facebook page and things like that. You know how to find people You're not stupid, you lot. You're clearly not, because you're listening to me. So if you want to get in touch, please do. That would be awesome. I would like to know what your ideal weekly rentals would be. You know, I might add a third one. I'm in the mood for adding Big Trouble in Little China, because hey, it's always good to watch Big Trouble in Little China. It's one that never fails to entertain when revisited. It holds up really well even today. The humor holds up. Many of the effects hold up. The action sequences are still funny. And I just love this sort of magnetic feel of that film. It's just a really entertaining thing to watch. In terms of books, there is another VHS project coming, but as I have previously stated, it will not be VHS Ate My Brain 3, although it will be under the VHS Ate My Brain banner. It will be a bit of a spin-off. I'm going to look at other things I can do going forward with the series, because I do see it as a series. I really enjoy putting these things together, so I want to be able to bring you some more. This is going to be a bit different, but it's going to be fun. I can guarantee it's going to be fun, and I hope you'll find something to enjoy in that. But more news on that very soon. I've got some fiction projects coming out as well, and lots of other things underway that I can't really talk about. Not because I'm not supposed to talk about them from a publisher or an agent or anything like that, but because I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, because I have ADHD, and I'm amazed that I've got this far into recording a podcast for more than 2 weeks. So hey, small victories. I enjoy this anyway. But please do like and subscribe this to this podcast. If you'd like to hear me talk about VHS tapes more, please do come along to the 80s Video Shop in Alphaton on the 5th of October to Tapestock 2 and come and say hi. I would love to meet some of you there. But for now, thank you very much for listening to this week's episode of VHS Ate My Brain.